Okay, welcome to everyone. Um, let's start reading from the top. In fact, Mecca, which today we view as simply being the name of an important city in Islam, is a Sanskrit word meaning fire and was the primal god in the kingdom of Saba in Yemen. This is from the Arabian religion in Britannica, pre-Islamic deities. In Saba, the national god was Al-Makkah, a protector of artificial irrigation, lord of the temple of the Sabian Federation of Tribes, near the capital Ma'rib. Until recently, Al-Makkah was considered to be a moon god, under the influence of a new generally rejected conception of the South Arabian pantheon consisting of an exclusive triad, Father Moon, Mother Sun, and Sun Venus. Recent studies underline that the symbols of the bull's head and the vine motif that are associated with him are solar and Dionysiac attributes and are more consistent with the sun god, a male consort of the sun goddess. Okay, so the supreme god, Al-Mecca. Mecca, basically, El means God, El means God, and then Mecca, God, Mecca. El-Mecca, El, God, Mecca is the name of the god, God, Mecca. And this is the sun, obviously, the supreme god is the sun. In all Sabaic religions, the supreme god is the sun, in all Sabaic religions. From the Bible, we read, this is from Job, there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God, and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all men of the East. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God, and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Does Job fear God for naught? Hath not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in my power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them. And the Sabians fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of their house. It fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So in the land of Uz, as you can see, God was testing Job, and one of his tests was a great wind. A great wind struck the 4 corners of the house and killed his children. Okay? This story is repeated in the Quran, as we will see. But before we get to the Quran, where is the land of Uz? If we go to Wikipedia, Wikipedia says Uz has been often identified as either Aram in modern-day Syria or Edom in modern-day Jordan. So it's either Aram over here in Syria or Edom all the way down here in Jordan. Can't it be both Aram and Edom? I mean, if it is Aram Mecca, then Aram Mecca, as we've said, is here, and you have Kingdom of Edom is here, and most likely the story of the people of Uz happened in Petra, or somewhere very close to Petra. Why is the confusion? Is it in Aram or in Edom? The land of Uz is both in Aram, Mecca, and Edom. The two lands intersect. Let's prove this together. Dan Gibson associates the people of Uz in the Bible with a group called the people of Ad in the Quran. He believes that every nation has its own folklore tales and believes that such folklore tales appear in the Quran and tie Islam and the Prophet to Petra and Jordan. Did you not see how your Lord dealt with Ad, the people of Aram, with their great stature unmatched in any other land, and Thamud, who carved their homes into the rocks in the stone valley, and the Pharaoh of mighty stature? They all transgressed throughout the land, spreading much corruption there, so your Lord unleashed on them a scourge of punishment. First of all, Ad are described as the people of Aram, and they have a great stature. Okay, this means that they're giants. They're very tall, and we've already spoken about the giants. Right, we've said the Zamzumim that lived in the mountain of Seir were giants, and we've said the Amalekites of Mecca. The Amalekites were also giants. The word Amalekite means giants. And the people of Ad here are being described as giants. Okay, the people of Ad are being described as giants, and then the people of the Pharaoh here is being described as a giant. So the people of Ad lived in Aram, described as giants, and then the Pharaoh is described as a giant. See this verse, the people of Ad that lived in Aram with their great stature, and then Thamud, who carved their homes into the rocks, and the Pharaoh of mighty stature. These are the same people, okay? All of these are the descendants of the Amalekites. All of these are the descendants of the Amalekites. The Pharaoh here is described as being of great stature. The Amalekites actually ruled Egypt for some time, as I will be proving to you. And Ad are the descendants of the Amalekites, as the Muslim sources tell us. The Muslim sources tell us that Ad are the descendants of the Amalekites, and the Pharaoh was a descendant of the Amalekites. And then the people that carved their homes into the rocks, obviously, the Amalekites, the people of Mecca, Petra, carved their home into the rocks. Petra is basically a bunch of homes carved into the rocks. All of Petra is carved into the rocks. Right? That's why it's called the rock. Petra, as we've said, means the rock in Greek. And as for Ad, they were destroyed by a furious, bitter wind. Just like the people of Uz. Like we've said, the people of Uz were destroyed by strong winds, and we've said the people of Uz lived here, where Aram, Mecca, and Edom intersect, in Petra. So, first of all, they are in Aram. They lived in Aram with their great stature, Aram, Mecca. They lived in Aram, Mecca. The people of Ad lived in Aram, Mecca. They have great stature, just like the Amalekites. They were killed by strong winds, just like the people of Uz that also lived in Aram, Mecca, because they're the same people. The people of Uz and the people of Ad are the same people. The people of Ad rejected the messengers when their brother Hud said to them, "Will you not fear Allah? Why do you build a landmark in every high place in vanity?" This is my commentary, not Mr. Gibson. What's interesting here is that these three groups, appear to be one of the same. In fact, I will prove to you that the people of Ad who lived in Aram are the Amalekites, and that these Amalekites ruled over Egypt as pharaohs for some time before being expelled. The people of Thamud, on the other hand, are associated with a mythical story about a she-camel that drank too much, so she had to be put down, and God brought swift judgment to the people for doing so. Even though this story is clearly mythical, there was never a she-camel that drank too much, and I will later prove this. The people of Thamud do not have to be. They are described as having carved their homes into the rocks, just like the Nabateans of Petra. As for the people of Ad, they are described here as being giants, just like the Amalekites and the Pharaoh. Right? They lived in Aram. They lived in Aram just like the Amalekites, and they built altars on high places, which is exactly what Dan Gibson has found in Petra. Besides being located in Aram, Mecca, just like the people of Uz, their death was also brought about the same way by strong winds. Not only that, they also shared the name Uz. The people of Ad are actually the people of Uz. Let's go ahead and read this together from the Book of Crowns in the Kings of Himyar. Muawiyah said, "So tell me, O Ubayd, about the destruction of Ad and what their destruction was like." Ubayd said, "O Muawiyah, their progenitor was Ad bin Uz, Ad the son of Uz, bin Shem bin Noah." Okay, so these people are the people of Uz. You know, the Quran, not the Quran, but the Islamic sources tell us Ad, the descendant of Uz, and his people were killed by strong winds, just like what the Bible says. Okay, and they lived in Aram, just like what the Bible says. They lived in Aram. Which Aram are they speaking of? Aram, Mecca, aka Petra. Now Dan Gibson tells us that they built altars in every high place. Why do you build landmarks on every high place in vanity? This is from the Quran, highlighted in yellow. Why do you build a landmark on every high place? So from archaeology and Islam, if you look at the picture, just right of the picture we read, the Quran tells us that the people of Ad started to build altars on the high places and even strongholds in the mountains. Between the mountains were valleys with gardens and springs of water. Now this altar has two parts to it, one for killing the animal and draining the blood, and the second altar for burning the animal. Okay, so these are the altars described in the Quran. They're found in Petra. You're not going to find these in Mecca, in Saudi Arabia. The altars being described here on high places are found in Petra. Everything is found in Petra. Okay, from the history of Ibn Khaldun we read, as for the giants, Amalekites, they are the children of Amlik ibn Lawith, and they are an example in terms of height and stature. The pharaohs in Egypt were among them, and the Titans in the Levant, who were called the Canaanites, were among them. Among these giants, as they claim, are the giants of Egypt, and that some of the Coptic kings sought aid from the king of the Amalekites in the Levant during his reign, and his name is Al-Walid bin Dumer. So he ruled over Egypt and enslaved the Copts, and then the Amalekites became kings of Egypt. And it is said that among them was Pharaoh at the time of Abraham, and the pharaohs at the times of Joseph and Moses. They replied, O Moses, there is an enormously powerful people there, so we will never be able to enter it until they leave. If they do, then we will enter. This is during the Exodus, when the Israelites were leaving Egypt. They were entering into modern-day Israel, Palestine. They said to Moses, there's a people of great stature. There's giants that live in that land. So what did he... So let's go ahead and read from the explanation. Let's go ahead. Al-Baghawi Tafsir. This is the explanation of Al-Baghawi in regards to the verse we've just read. And those people were called mighty because of their height and the strength of their bodies, and they were among the giants, Amalekites, and the rest of the people of Ad. Okay? So the people of Ad are the descendants of the Amalekites. Right? They were among the giants and the rest of the people of Ad. So I've shown you guys that the Amalekites were pharaohs in Egypt, and that they are the ancestors of the people of Ad. Okay? Let's go ahead and read from The Decisive Battles of Islam by Muhammad bin Ahmed Bashmil. As for the second main era of the Arabs who ruled the Levant, it was the era of the Nabateans, who were the descendants of the Amalekites. These Nabateans appeared in the Levant as a very brave people with superior fighting ability, as powerful Bedouin tribes, and then as kings who formed a vast empire for themselves. They appeared in this way around the end of the 4th century BC, and 18 kings succeeded them as kings in the Levant, the first of whom was Al-Harith, who became king in the Petra region in 169 BC. The last of them, Malik III, took over the kingdom from 101 to 106 AD. The kingdom of the Nabatean giants, Amalekites, gradually flourished until it turned into a sprawling empire that included the entire Levant, Sinai and part of the Nile Delta to the west, and Mesopotamia in Iraq to the east, and even Wadi al-Qura, Tabuk, and the Arabian Peninsula to the south. They were powerful warrior clans. They fought empires and defeated their armies. In about the year 312 BC, the Nabatean clans defeated the armies of Alexander the Great. This was the result of a fierce pursuit by the Nabatean tribes of the Greek army, which had raided their lands while their warriors were absent. The Nabateans, under the leadership of their king, Harith, fought the Jews and inflicted defeats on them until they laid siege to Jerusalem and surrounded it with 50,000 infantry and cavalry. It almost fell into their hands, had it not been for King Harith being forced to lift the siege. This was to level the playing field with the Romans, whose leader, Scaurus, had occupied Damascus, which was part of the kingdom of Petra, in the year 66 or 65 BC. Indeed, King Harith settled the dispute and made peace with the Romans. At the time, King Harith resumed his siege of Jerusalem, occupying it in conjunction with the Roman armies, who persecuted and displaced the Jews after destroying Jerusalem, ruining the temple and erasing it from existence. So far so good. So these Nabateans had a major kingdom, right? These Amalekites had a major kingdom. Now, what this means is that the Prophet was both a Nabatean and a Sabian. This is my note. The Prophet was both a Nabatean and a Sabian, just like the Mandaeans, who lived in southern Iraq. Speaking of southern Iraq, Dr. J. Smith did an extensive study on the origins of Islam, and he has suggested that Islam was created by the Abbasids in southern Iraq. Not only that, but Dr. J. Smith has suggests that the first Muslim empire, called the Rashidun Caliphate, never existed, and the subsequent Umayyad Empire wasn't even Muslim. Rather, it was Nestorian Christian. Nestorian Christian means monotheistic Christians. So the Mandaeans, who live in southern Iraq, they were Sabians, just like the Prophet, and they are Nabateans, just like the Prophet. And they call themselves the Sabian Mandaeans. But what's very interesting to us is that they live in southern Iraq, and J. Smith tells us that Islam started in southern Iraq. So I want you guys to go over to my playlist. If you go to my playlist, you're going to find this is the only video that I have in my playlist. Investigating Islam by Dr. J. Smith. I want you guys to go ahead and watch that video. And then once you're done watching this video of J. Smith, come back and we're going to start talking about the Mandaeans. We're going to start reading from the Kinza Rabbah, that's the holy book of the Mandaeans, and we're going to start talking about the theology of the Sabians. Okay? Although the Mandaeans in Iraq and those that lived in Petra are both called Nabateans, their religions are not exactly the same. Their religions both came from the same source, that's the Egyptians, But the Nabateans of Petra were polytheists and quasi-Hindus. Much of their theology is similar to that of the Hindus, as we will later see. Instead of praying to the hidden sun, they prayed to the physical sun and to a plethora of other celestial deities. Whereas the Mandaeans are monotheists, they pray only to the hidden sun. We will begin by reading about the Mandaeans' beliefs and we will tie it all together. So come back, and in the next lecture we will start talking about the theology of the Sabians. Thank you guys for watching. Till next time.